Jai Shri Ram. This is a Gre Awa argument. The word argument means somebody's opinion on something. And in the GRE, you have this writing task. Now, even if you are not a GRE aspirant, I strongly recommend that you listen to this because this will improve your critical thinking abilities. Now, our job is to write an essay in 30 minutes. Usually, the instructions are what evidence will weaken and what will strengthen, so something like that. Let's see. A recent sales study indicated that consumption of seafood dishes in Bay City restaurants has increased by 30% over the past 5 years. Okay. Yet, there are no currently operating city restaurants that specialize in seafood. Okay. Moreover, the majority of families in Bay City are two-income families, and a nationwide study has shown that such families eat significantly fewer home-cooked meals than they did a decade ago. But at the same time express more concern about eating healthily. Therefore, a new Bay City restaurant specializing in seafood will be quite popular and profitable. Now, your task is to raise questions and ask questions and tell the speaker that this is the evidence you should provide. Otherwise, how can we be sure that your assumptions are right? Okay, that's the whole thing. So now let us first take it apart. Recent sales study. Whenever somebody says there was a recent sales study, you must ask when was the study conducted, how many people were studied, what is the total population of Bay City, what was the sample studied, is the sample representative of the total population. So we need more details about the sample and the total population. Because in case if the sample is not representative, then the whole study is pointless. So this is one small paragraph. So the speaker has failed to give us evidence about the study and when it was done. If the study is too old, then it may not be relevant today. So simply because he used the word recent, I need not assume that it was just a week ago or a month ago. Well, I can tell you I bought a car recently. Ask me when? 10 years ago. Well, 10 years ago? Yeah, that's recent for me. Is there anywhere in the dictionary that recent means it has to be 1 month? So please understand that is critical thinking. Get into the mode. So, has increased by 30%. Here the question is, from where has it increased? See, an increase from 100 rupees or $100 is nothing. If it is $1 million and it has increased by 30%, oh, that's a big jump. So without data, without statistics, without actual figures, percentages are pointless. So the speaker has to give us all that. And now the speaker is saying there are no currently operating city restaurants that specialize in seafood. The whole argument is aimed at recommending that because there is no specialty seafood restaurants, one can start one and it will be profitable and popular. Now, it need not necessarily be so because almost every restaurant in the city, because it's a bay city, that means it is a littoral city, Littoral. Littoral means on the seaside. On the seaside. So if it's a bay city, a lot of seafood might be available. So it's a reasonable assumption. Now, if that is true, then every restaurant in Bay City could be serving seafood. In which case, where would be the need for a specialty seafood restaurant? When every restaurant is serving seafood, that means the speaker must tell us whether other restaurants are serving seafood. If other restaurants are not serving seafood, then perhaps there is a demand which is unfulfilled. And so, is there an unfulfilled demand? Was there a customer survey? The speaker should have undertaken a customer survey. And the customer should say, yes, we went to many restaurants, and seafood is not available. So this has to be proved. So, there may not be a specialty seafood restaurant, but every restaurant could be selling. And it may be having dedicated customers, in which case a new specialty restaurant may not be successful or viable. So now next. So this is what you will have to put into paragraphs. The majority of the families in Bay City are two-income families. Now the speaker is assuming as if that two-income families are very rich. Now we do not know. It could be two-income families, but they could be low income. which means that they could be lower middle class or middle class. So we do not know how wealthy they are and whether they can afford to buy seafood and whether they can afford to go to seafood restaurants. So the speaker has to give us more information about how much do they actually earn, what is the average income of these families. So that is not convincing evidence. And a nationwide study, whenever you find this word nationwide study, you can attack it on the grounds that this could be a case of faulty induction. That means what could be true for the whole of the nation may not necessarily be true of Bay City. For example, what applies to the whole of India may not necessarily apply to Hyderabad. So that could be the possibility. So families eat significantly fewer home cooked meals. Okay. So we need to know specifically whether Bay City also has families which eat more outside than at home. So we need a specific study. You see, induction is going from one to many. Deduction is the opposite. Deduction is all A's are B and all B's are C, therefore all A's are C. That is deduction. Right? From the general to the specific, that is deduction. Induction is from the specific to the general. Science is, all scientists use induction. Okay? But in our personal life, inductive reasoning is usually flawed. Just because you find one person from a group behaving badly, are you justified in calling the whole group bad names or thinking that the whole group is bad? I don't want to give specific examples, you understand what I'm saying. Yeah, that is faulty induction. So here could be a case of faulty induction. Everything, this nationwide study could apply to the whole of the country, but may not necessarily apply to Bay City. To convince us, he has to tell us that Bay City is similar to other cities in the country on at least the major parameters. But no such information or study has been given. So, but at the same time express more concern about eating healthily. Now the speaker is making an assumption here that the people in Bay City feel that eating seafood is tantamount to eating healthily. Tantamount means equal in amount. So we cannot jump to that conclusion unless there is a study where people in Bay City report that yes, they believe that eating seafood is healthy. Unless that is specifically, explicitly stated by residents of Bay City, we are not justified, not entitled to jump to the assumption that since they are saying that they are concerned about eating healthily, they would be interested in seafood. That may not be the case. I believe in eating healthily, but then I'm a vegetarian. I think you understood the point. So we need a proper survey where Bay City residents are questioned, and if they very emphatically, explicitly state that they believe seafood is good for health, then perhaps there is some credence in the argument. Now, therefore, we have already destroyed the whole argument. Therefore, a new Bay City restaurant specializing in seafood will be quite popular and profitable. We cannot be sure. Because whether it will be popular, now that also depends on whether the existing restaurants which are serving seafood and people living in Bay City see so much seafood that maybe seafood is not really popular. So maybe yes, maybe no. So we need an elaborate survey. Profitable. So we need to know whether seafood here is expensive and what will it take to set up a seafood restaurant. Maybe deep freezers, walk-in freezers, walk-in coolers. There's a lot of investment. So feasibility report on setting up a seafood restaurant. When actually all the other restaurants are already serving seafood, having a specialty seafood restaurant may not be a very sensible thing to do. It doesn't look like a sound business decision. Now you put it in a standard format. Your introduction will be, the speaker concludes that a new Bay City restaurant specializing in seafood would be popular and profitable, but the evidence given is very sketchy and a lot of evidence on several areas is necessary. Otherwise, we cannot consider this argument persuasive. So that's your introduction. Now you start first paragraph, you start using transitional words. First paragraph you must start. First of all, we have no idea whether this recent study is truly applicable today. Full stop. in the sense that we need to know when the study was conducted, because recent is a very subjective term. And besides that, we need information about the size of the sample studied and the total population of the city. Without all this information, we cannot be sure whether the study is representative of the total population. Right? So you then second paragraph you say secondly, third paragraph you start with thirdly, fourthly, in addition, therefore, however, start using transitional words. And your conclusion will be a paraphrasing of the introduction. Your conclusion will be most likely something like this. In conclusion, unless the above information on so many areas is proffered by the speaker, we cannot accept this argument as a persuasive or cogent one. So the information in these areas is lacking, blah blah blah. Jai Shri Ram.